Well, good evening. I'm Jay Fogarty. It is certainly my pleasure and honor to welcome all of you to our 20th anniversary celebration for the Florida State University College of Medicine. We have over 300 people in attendance tonight, including some of our VIPs, President John Thrasher and his wife Jean, Myra Hurt and her husband, O.C. Harris, my predecessor, Margaret Lynn Duggar, a good friend from the past, and many of our past faculty, alums from both the College of Medicine and the program in medical science. This year certainly feels very, very different. I recall fondly our 10th anniversary when we had an amazing event here where we actually had the president and CEO, Dr. Darrell Kirsch from the AAMC, come and visit us. And he spoke amazingly about our mission and our values and all that we do. Tonight, I'm here all dressed up in the College of Medicine atrium, and I'm only here with my cameraman and Doug Carlson. It feels very different. I remember the last time we had lots and lots of people here. Our founding class of 2005 was here. They were celebrating their 5th anniversary. They were doing all those type of things. It was an amazing event to see them come back and be physicians at this time. So this year, in fact, feels very different. This amazing medical school was established in the year 2000 by the Florida legislature under the guidance of our then House Speaker, John Thrasher. That bill establishing the school was then signed by Governor Jeb Bush on 15 June 2000, just a little over 20 years ago now. Those that were here at the time remember the conventional wisdom at that time. It was that A, we didn't need any new medical schools, and B, we had too many doctors. We proved them wrong. Thankfully, great advocates and great heroes like Myra Hurt, Senator Darrell Peden, FSU President Sandy Dallenberg, and our current President John Thrasher were here to advocate for us. I might note that Nancy Peden, I understand, is also on our video tonight. Thank you, Nancy. They created the bill that sits outside the dean's office for all to see. It is one of my favorite parts of the campus tours when I take people around the College of Medicine for how many dean's office has the enabling legislation right outside our door. I would also note that our legacy program, the PIMS program in medical science, started its first class in 1970. So this is actually our 50th anniversary for PIMS also, a truly special and historic event. I'm excited to be your host for this evening, live from the College of Medicine atrium, and I look forward to several things: sharing our history, introducing tributes to special people, announcing our Alumni Awards tonight, and creating interactions with your colleagues as you look across your campuses and your classes to meet and greet with each other. Before I end, I'd like to ask all of you to join me in a moment of silence as we mourn the loss of our founding Fort Pierce Regional Campus Dean, Dr. Randy Bertolet. He died and left us on 22 October at home with his wife Sue by his side. Our hearts and prayers are with Sue and their family at this time. Please pause. I know he will be sorely missed. We could not have done this without great work from Shelby McDaniel and Melissa Powell in our Alumni and Communications offices, and this evening was made possible with the incredible talent of Mark and Glenn in AV production. So I think I've said enough for now. I'd like to turn it over and listen to a little bit of the history of the College of Medicine. Thank you for being here tonight.
Good evening. I'm President John Thrasher. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this 20th anniversary celebration of the Florida State University College of Medicine. I don't think it's a surprise to anyone that the medical school holds a very special place in my heart. I was Speaker of the Florida House of Representatives when it was approved during the 2000 legislative session. I strongly believed in the need for more physicians to serve the people of the state of Florida. And I believed in Florida State University's unique ability to provide the kind of exemplary education and patient-centered training that the physicians of today and tomorrow would need. That's why I and so many others fought so hard for this school. Then as now, FSU believes that students with a desire to serve their communities will make the best doctors. They come from all over Florida, from towns large and small, and they represent our state's wonderful diversity. The FSU College of Medicine took a new approach to how people are admitted to medical school and how they're trained. Now we have 20 years of evidence that our approach works. That makes a difference in people's lives. Tonight's celebration is an affirmation of our success and of your success. Our medical school remains a great investment for Florida. That's never been truer than it is today. Thank you for your part in bringing our mission to life and for joining us as we celebrate tonight.
Thank you, President Thrasher. The role you played as Speaker of the House in creating this medical school has already made a lasting impression on patients and families throughout Florida and across our country, where our outstanding alumni, physicians, physician assistants, and PhD graduates are practicing and working. I proudly stand here before the legislative bill, the enabling legislation that created this medical school in 2000. This is prominently displayed outside the Dean's office, and we're very pleased to make this a regular part of any of our tours that we bring guests and people through the College of Medicine. It's certainly appropriate that your name adorns our medical education building. 2020 has brought no small number of challenges on each of us. One of the worst side effects has been drastically altering our face-to-face interactions. And no, Zoom does not count. We were forced to cancel our 2020 commencement ceremonies, our white coat ceremony, and countless other events, including the alumni reunion we had planned at the Disney Resort in Orlando. Tonight, we are pleased you have joined us as we celebrate the 20th anniversary of our medical school, the incredible accomplishments of Dr. Myra Hurt, who retired in June after a career that included playing a key role in the creation of this college. We'll do the induction of our 2020 Alumni Hall of Fame class, and we'll have virtual reunions for our alumni to include many of your campus deans, clerkship directors, support staff, and others. I invite you now to watch a short video capturing some of our accomplishments and our history. I'm sure you'll see a lot of people you recognize. I invite you to submit any questions you might have for me by using the Zoom chat function. Our staff will monitor your questions, and I will return later in the program to try to answer those questions. Thank you. Enjoy our history.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Dr. Alma Littles, the Senior Associate Dean for Medical Education and Academic Affairs, and I am delighted to see all of you here today. Thank you for coming. Any celebration of the Florida State University College of Medicine starts with the mission. The mission didn't start with the College of Medicine. It started with PIMS, the Program in Medical Sciences. 50 years ago, in fact. So let's call this a celebration folded within a 50th anniversary. 20 years ago, a 4-year medical school with a mission that is even more relevant in our lives today than it was when it was signed into law on June 15, 2000. A celebration of 2 decades that have helped to transform the physician workforce in Florida. Recruiting students who believe in the service calling of medicine. Students with a calling to make their communities better, to provide care for those in need. 30 classes went through the PIMS program, and many PIMS physicians now teach our students at the Central Campus and the regional campuses. Many PIMS alumni serve on the FSU Medical Alumni Board, where they spearheaded the development of 3 scholarships for FSU medical students whose stories resonate with our mission. The mission remains the same as it was with PIMS, to educate and develop exemplary physicians who practice patient-centered health care, discover and advance knowledge, and are responsive to community needs, especially through service to elder, rural, minority, and underserved populations. Being responsive to community needs also drove the creation of a physician assistant program at Florida State in 2017. We are committed to doing everything we can to provide access to care for all. Here in November of 2020, has our mission ever been more important? To achieve the success this medical school is celebrating here tonight, it took a philosophy on enrolling medical students who believe in our mission. And it took an approach to medical education that differs from almost every other medical school in the country. Great leaders like Dr. Myra Hurt and Dr. O.C. Harris believe the key to graduating more doctors who would choose to practice in communities where they are needed the most was to educate them in those communities. Arguably, the greatest achievement in this medical school's 20-year history is the development of 6 regional campuses, along with rural medical education programs in Marianna, Immokalee, and Thomasville, Georgia. Today, more than half of the FSU alumni practicing in Florida are in one of our regional campus communities. More than 120 of our alumni are now on our teaching faculty at either a regional campus or the central campus. In 2018, when Hurricane Michael shattered communities in the Florida Panhandle, FSU medical alumni practicing in communities hardest hit were there to provide care before, during, and after the storm. Those same communities have traditionally struggled to recruit new doctors. Our effort to bring students to medical school from those communities is helping send physicians back to where they are sorely needed. The community-based model is built to produce this pipeline of physicians to the places they are needed.
When you look around at our clerkship director meetings and you look around at the physicians that have really embraced our medical school and our method of training students, there are some incredible clerkship directors at all the regional campuses. And hey, look, let's don't even stop there. I mean, you got some education directors that could be easily nationally known for all that they do, and they're just doing a wonderful job. I mean, Mike Sweeney, George Bernardo here, Suzanne Bush. I mean, you got people that are just absolutely phenomenal, and I think the students perceive that, and they do well.
Our greatest accomplishment is in the people who come to medical school and PA school at Florida State. More important, it's the people those students will one day serve. That's why we're here. There's a new national consciousness on the need for equitable treatment and care of all people. We're celebrating 20 years, nay, 50 years, of addressing those concerns. This is our crowning achievement. The Florida State University College of Medicine, responsive to community needs. Over the last 10 years, the College of Medicine added the Master of Science in Biomedical Sciences, bridged to clinical medicine major, reached full enrollment of 480 medical students in 2010, published an independently authored socioeconomic impact study showing that the college generated more than $1 billion in economic impact statewide during its first 10 years of operation, more than $2 billion as of 2020. Opened the Translational Science Laboratory to support developing biomedical research into cures for human disease. Completed the 4th floor of the Central Campus to serve as home for our departments of geriatrics and behavioral sciences and social medicine, as well as to provide additional study space for students during that time. The college also earned numerous individual distinctions reflecting how far we have come in a short period of time. The American Geriatric Society named Dr. Niharika Shuchak its Clinician of the Year. Then, a year later, succeeded her with one of our clerkship faculty members, Dr. Rosemary Laird in Orlando. Dr. Charlotte McGuire, a major benefactor of this medical school, was named a Great Floridian by the governor. Dr. Amy Weatherby, director of the Autism Institute, was named an FSU Distinguished Research Professor. In the 13 years since she joined the College of Medicine faculty, Dr. Weatherby has brought in $69 million in grants and funding, and she has made Florida State a national and international leader in the early detection of autism spectrum disorders. Dr. Wade Douglas, a PIMS alumnus, became founding director of our general surgery residency program. Our dean, Dr. Jay Fogarty, became chair of the liaison committee on medical education. Dr. Suzanne Harrison became president of the American Medical Women's Association. Dr. Suzanne Johnson was named president of the American Psychological Association. Dr. Jodreka Brown Spates received the university's Martin Luther King Jr. Award, and a year later, Thesla Byrne Anderson became staff recipient of the FSU MLK Jr. Distinguished Service Award. Dr. Christy Alexander, a member of the College of Medicine's inaugural class, was named president of the Florida Academy of Family Physicians. And even I am honored to have received the Elizabeth Blackwell Award from the American Medical Women's Association. Yet our focus has remained increasing access to care. The College of Medicine founded 7 new residency programs, providing new and important opportunities to keep graduating medical students, ours and those of other Florida schools, in state. These programs focused on our mission areas, producing physicians in the specialties where they are sorely needed in Florida. Family medicine at Lee Health in Fort Myers, internal medicine at Tallahassee Memorial in Tallahassee, general surgery at Tallahassee Memorial, internal medicine at Sarasota Memorial Hospital, emergency medicine at Sarasota Memorial, family medicine at Winter Haven Hospital, which brought in its first class of residents this June, and a residency in micrographic surgery and dermatologic oncology fellowship at Dermatology Associates in Tallahassee. We then added a hospice and palliative care fellowship at Sarasota Memorial, and Dr. Elena Reyes oversees our Global Health Fellowship in Immokalee. And our students are matching at those and other top programs in Florida and across the country. They are excelling, with several hundred of our more than 1,400 MD alumni to date becoming a chief resident. In a survey of residency program directors, more than 80% of our graduates were rated among the top half in their class.
I remember several years ago, I got a call from a program director who was working with one of the students who was a resident at the time, and he was saying that he wanted more students like this kid. And I said, well, you've had an FSU student before. What stands out? And his response was kind of interesting. He said, listen, your students want to go and will see patients. We're sitting around, if somebody needs to be seen, they're going to pick up the chart and go in and see them. Other medical students or other first-year residents, they're waiting for us to ask them to go in and see the patient. And he says, it's just refreshing when you have somebody that wants to go see people. They're really easy to teach.
The AAMC Mission Management Tool has consistently shown that this medical school, compared to all others in the United States and Canada, is among the top 10% for 1, graduating a workforce that will address priority United States health needs, 2, preparing physicians to fulfill needs of the community, 3, graduating African American physicians, 4, providing instruction in community health and in culturally appropriate care, and 5, producing primary care physicians. AAMC data showed in 2016 we were the most diverse medical school in the United States or Canada, the only program in the top 10 in both categories for enrollment of Black and African American students, as well as for Hispanic students. We achieved such diversity while also being recognized as the most selective medical school in the country for admissions. According to U.S. News and World Report, the diversity the AAMC notes has been recognized by others. The College of Medicine has received the Higher Education Excellence and Diversity Award for Health Professions Schools 4 consecutive years, including 2020. We were named one of the country's top 10 medical schools for Hispanics 5 times. We have been and remain one of the nationally recognized Hispanic-serving health profession schools. As we have grown, so has our attention to research, and our achievements in the lab. A few of the many grants brought to Florida State over the last 10 years include nearly $6 million as part of the Geriatrics Workforce Enhancement Program, a $17.5 million grant with the University of Florida for the NIH Clinical and Translational Science Program. Then partnered with UF in 2019 on a $29 million NIH grant for clinical and translational science, a $3 million grant to target toxic stress among children of rural and migrant farm workers, while our Immokalee Health Education site was recognized as a Treatment and Service Adaptation Center for the National Child Traumatic Stress Initiative Network. In the last 10 years, the college achieved other important milestones and impacted our communities in other ways. Doctors Myra Hurt and Helen Livingston developed a new interdisciplinary medical sciences program for Florida State, bringing together 7 different colleges for a new major that quickly has become the second most popular major at this university. We created a new physician assistant program, admitting the first class of students in 2017, developed a new Center on Behavioral Health directed by Dr. Sylvie Nahr. Under Dr. Heather Fland's leadership, became part of the National Network of Depression Centers. Along the way, we developed clinical practices to take our teaching into the exam room and allow our full-time faculty to practice what they teach. Dr. Lisa Granville saw the first patient for FSU Senior Health in April of 2013. And the first of our medical practices soon expanded to a regular clinic at Westminster Oaks in 2014. In May of 2018, opened FSU Primary Health in a medically underserved community in Southwest Tallahassee, quickly growing to more than 5,000 patients in a year's time. Established FSU Telehealth in October of 2019, preparing for an urgent need in healthcare as we find new ways to provide access and for safely seeing patients, even in a pandemic. In June of this year, opened FSU Behavioral Health, meeting one of the great needs in our community. To those of us who have been here since the beginning, 20 years has been a blur. You've heard tonight only a tidbit of this medical school's accomplishments. We thank you for your part in our success. We are achieving this together and look forward to being a part of the solutions in our communities, just as we have strived to be from the beginning.
Well, welcome back. The most difficult part of that tribute was limiting to a very short video. Our communications and video production teams told me they really wanted to be a documentary that Ken Burns would be proud of, but I told them we'll have to save that for our 25th anniversary. One of the more personally disappointing moments of this pandemic is when we had to cancel a grand and formal event we'd been planning for Dr. Myra Hurt, who retired in June. But we attempted to give her a proper send-off from a remarkable career that included arguably the most influential voice in the push to transition from a 1-year PIMS program at Florida State to a 4-year medical school. First, we created this beautiful founder's wall behind me to record and share the legacy of contributions made by Myra Hurt, the late Senator Darrell Peden, and our late university president, Sandy Dallenberg. We were very pleased to actually be able to surprise Myra this summer by actually having her come in for a book signing for her now famous book. And at the same time, with President Thrasher, we were able to unveil the founder's wall behind me. Next, Myra then became the first person in 11 years here at the university, and only the 8th ever to receive the university's Westcott Medal. Here are some of the highlights from those ceremonies.
Whereas Myra M. Hurt, PhD, has distinguished herself through her 33-year career at Florida State University as a researcher, teacher, mentor, and innovator whose work has benefited innumerable students and positively shaped this entire university in ways that will be felt for years to come.
Just to be clear, this is a presidential award. It's the first one I've given since I've been here in 6 years. I don't believe there was one with the previous president, and I think the last one was TK who gave one. So it's really an honor for me to do this. So now, Myra, now therefore be it resolved that I, John Thrasher, President of Florida State University, am proud to award the Westcott Medal to Myra M. Hurt, PhD, with the thanks and gratitude of the entire Florida State University community. Congratulations.
First of all, I would say this: I do not walk on water. I do not. And I did not do any of these things by myself. My two girls, each in elementary school, when they were asked to, questions about their mother, what's her favorite color, what's her hobby, they both said work, and they were right. And I went to college at the right time because of work study. Work study enabled my going and graduating from college. And many of the students that I met when I started to teach at FSU, PIMS students and biology undergrads, and when I was teaching micro and human biochem, I found that most of them were first-generation students, and they were working their way through college too. And I found that FSU is the kind of university that actually supported those kinds of students, because what I noticed in all those med centers where I went was that the patients weren't in the hospital, they were out in the community. It didn't take a rocket scientist or an economist to figure that out, and I could see what was coming. The impact of insurance and HMOs, etc., was visible. This job has, as I said already, and I'll repeat it, allowed me to pursue my personal mission, which is to help students find their success in life. And I get to do that for a living. That is a blessing indeed. And to be involved in this medical school project has been an unbelievable blessing. It was, yes, a lot of work. And that's the guts of my talk, is that I'm a first-generation student, and I came home when I got to FSU. And I'm so glad that I found my way here. It only took 2 decades. Thank you.
Welcome back. You can watch both of these ceremonies honoring Dr. Hurt in their entirety by visiting med.fsu.edu/Myra. As you're probably aware, Dr. Hurt served as our directors of the PIMS program for 9 years before becoming the acting dean of the new FSU College of Medicine in the year 2000. PIMS alumni are so very important to this medical school, and Dr. Hurt reminded me of that nearly every single day. PIMS gave us our noble mission, and it gave us many of our current faculty members who teach our students how to be patient-centered. This year, we expanded our Distinguished Alumni Award to the FSU Medical Alumni Hall of Fame. Part of why we did that is because we have so many outstanding alumni that we'd really like to recognize sooner rather than later. Here then is the 2020 class of the FSU Medical Alumni Hall of Fame, 3 PIMS alumni and 2 College of Medicine alumni. And we invite you to nominate deserving alumni for the inclusion in our 2021 class. I'm holding in my hand a plaque which will be prominently displayed on the second floor just next to the PIMS wall that we're so proud of. Congratulations to our alums. Well, welcome back. I hope you've enjoyed the presentations that we've had for you this evening, our history, our presentation, and welcome by President Thrasher. I would also like to congratulate our Hall of Fame class for their incredible service to us and their communities over the last 20 to 10 years. It's been great to see them. We just wish we could do this in person so that you'd be able to receive the acclamation and the reward of all of your peers in front of them. Before we move on to our regional campuses, I did ask that if there were any questions, you could forward them to me. I was enjoying watching the chat. It seemed like everybody was having so much fun saying hello to each other that you might have forgotten to send in any questions, but I do have a couple that I might try to answer now for you. You might know that when we do our candidate interviews here for medical school, I frequently will ask them to tell me if they have any questions they would have for the dean. One of the most common questions I get are, what do you see as the changes that we have for the next 5 years here at the College of Medicine? My first comment is that certainly for the last 15 years, we've been under almost constant change. And I think you saw great examples of that during our history presentation narrated so well by Dr. Littles. But I will say that we will continue to build our residency programs to make sure that we keep as many of our students in Florida as possible. We'll continue to, most likely, to expand our practice plan programs because it's going to be obvious that we really need a very, very visible presence of the College of Medicine here in this community. It's not enough to produce the wonderful doctors of the future. We really need to provide the clinical services to them. We'll continue to expand our research programs that have been spectacularly successful over the past 10 years. And we'll continue to try to develop the resources that we need to do the wonderful things that you expect of us to do that. What do we see as our challenges for the future? Well, this is a medical school that for its first 20 years has been highly dependent upon tuition and state revenue for its support. We certainly need to continue to have that. We need to continue to advocate for that. And we're quite concerned about the state budget in the context of the COVID epidemic and all the downturns in the economy that we've seen across the country. It's one of the reasons why we've started a physician practice plan and FSU primary health and FSU behavioral health, because we believe that we need to be able to support our clinicians who are working so hard in their communities and provide a way to get some salary support for them. The opportunities from my perspective really come down to what do we expect from our graduates going forward. Only in the last 2 years have we found that over half of our graduates are actually now practicing physicians. For those many years, those physicians were all in residencies and fellowships. And now over half of them have finished their residency, have finished their fellowship, and they're now doing amazing things in their community. I expect bigger and better things for them. As was mentioned, we have so many of them are faculty. Several of them are already our clerkship directors. We expect them to move up to be education directors, potentially regional campus dean, and who knows, maybe one day dean. So with that, I would invite you to go to our campus dean rounds, and so you can meet with some of your colleagues and see what's going on out there. And we'll close this part of the program. Thank you again.